This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
So at this time, I'll open up the June 26th Town of Southampton Planning Board meeting. Members present, Mark Darnold, Stephen Johnson, Dan LaValle, and myself, Paul Demond. We're joined by Easthampton Media, televising this. And on the agenda tonight is A&R submitted by Jane Rothschild at 13 Cold Spring Road. And I will put up the plan on a parcel that she is just adding a piece to. Hopefully I can share this screen and not screw things up. Okay, so Jane, you're representing yourself here tonight and not your engineering firm, I take it.
Well, I was expecting Mike Schaefer to be here, so he had told me he was going to be in attendance.
Actually, wait just a minute. Someone else needs to be admitted, so perhaps that's him. Just scroll down here. Yes, okay. Mr. Schaefer, you here?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Okay, yes. I've just put the plan up. We have just opened the meeting.
All right. Yeah, I can actually share my screen. Oh, you got it yourself. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I have it up already. So if you want to go ahead, and it appears you're just taking like a pie-shaped piece out of a lot and adding it to the existing. So go ahead.
That's correct, sir. That's exactly what we're doing. So I'm moving my mouse and that's not helping. So, but yeah, so we're taking lot A and we're basically taking a portion of 15 Cold Spring Road and basically adding it to 13 Cold Spring Road. There's a fence there you kind of see just to the where the two trees are there. You can kind of see the two trees. There's actually a fence. So we're trying to get that on the property as well. And that was kind of our go-to, if you will, as far as trying to capture that and bring that over to the lot 13 or house number 13. So that's really all we're doing. Just taking that pie-shaped triangular wedge and taking it from lot 15 and not affecting the buildability of that lot and moving it over to lot 13. And that's it in a nutshell.
Okay. Any questions from the board?
No, it looks straightforward.
I agree.
Mark?
No, I think it looks straightforward.
Okay. Stephen?
When was the plan submitted, and can we review the Form A, please?
What would you like to review on the Form A? They have the applicant information, which is Jane Rothschild at 13 Cold Spring Road. Surveyor is
Okay, Paul, never mind. We'll take this up later.
What would you like to know? What would you like to know on the Form A, Stephen?
Is the adjoining lot, the donor lot, built? And if so, where is the house and where's the driveway?
No, there's nothing on. That's a vacant lot right now. There's nothing there. The only house on either of these lots, both of which are owned by the applicant, is 13 Cold Spring Road, the lot that or the building and the driveway that you see there now. On the other property, there's basically a pond, and that's it. Jane is online too. She can also speak if she would like. The applicant, sorry.
Does that answer your question, Stephen?
I'm fine with this part of the hearing. We'll take up agenda and materials a little bit later.
Yes, we will. Any other questions from the board?
Can we just see what note 4 is since it's a C note 4? Just want to read it real quick. Sure it does. And you scroll over. Lot 8 on building lot.
Yeah, that's lot A, obviously.
Trouble maneuvering this.
What does the note say?
Can you refer to that, please, Mr. Schaefer?
Yeah, basically, it's basically saying the tiny wedge that we're taking out, you can't build on it.
Right.
It's all being made part of lot 19. In other words, it's not a buildable lot. It's just some land being brought from one and given to the other. And it doesn't affect the two basic lots that are buildable, which is currently lot 13, which has a house on it now, and lot 15, which could potentially in the future, have a home built on it.
Right.
But it's vacant right now.
Yeah. It's just good to double check. We looked over everything, and that note makes a lot
Absolutely.
of sense. So
No,
very
I'm
good.
glad you're doing that.
Are you ready
How
for a
many people don't
motion?
look at it?
Any other questions?
Are you ready for a motion?
If there are no other questions, I am ready for a motion.
I move that this matter be tabled until our next meeting 2 weeks from today.
For what reason?
Lack of notice.
Lack of notice. Explain, please.
I've got a motion on the table.
We have a motion to table this. All those in favor of tabling this, say aye.
Needs the second, sir.
Those who would like to second that, please second the motion. There is no second. So we proceed with a regular motion to approve or endorse this A&R.
I move that we endorse this A&R for Cold Spring Road Rothschild project.
Second.
Second, motion made by Mark and seconded by Dan. All in favor, Mark,
Aye.
Dan,
Aye.
Stephen?
I abstain.
All yes, 301. The motion to endorse this plan is accepted. And I will get the signed copies over to your office tomorrow. That's at 3 Ferry Street. I'm sorry, no, it's Jane, you're picking these up.
That was my,
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the next A&R we have, which is for Northeast Survey. So you're picking yours up, and I have to deliver the next one. Okay. So I will sign these and get them over to the clerk's office so you can pick them up tomorrow sometime about mid-morning.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Schaefer.
All right. Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Let's see. The next one I'm just putting up now to share is the next item on the agenda. It's another A&R submitted by Edward Hamill of 155 Glendale Road. Property address is 156 Glendale Road. And the surveyor and the engineering of Northeast Surveys out of Easthampton. could not be here this evening. He had another meeting to attend. But again, I don't think it's too confusing of what's happening here, because I think some of the board members already know what this property entails. This parcel, I believe, Stephen can chime in on this because he was with Open Space on this, I believe, but this is the vineyard property up on Glendale Road. And there's some arrangement for him to, is it donating it to the town for conservation going forward in perpetuity. And what he's doing here is he's taking out one parcel, lot 2, for, I'm assuming, his homestead, where there's a barn and such, and they're conveying.
Chairman?
Yes,
Chairman?
sir. Yes, sir.
Do you know this,
Yes.
or are you speculating?
This is what
Because
go ahead.
I believe that there is no residence on the proposed new lot 2. This is not a donation to the town, although it is critical to the Mountain Waters project, and the purpose of this is, in fact, to move forward with the purchase of an agricultural easement, and perhaps with federal funding, as noted in the note for Lot 1.
Right.
So the greater portion of the lot, which in my view extends off the right-hand side of the page to the east, and therefore doesn't show the whole property, that would be conserved with a purchased easement. The town is a small partner with the state and federal government in the purchase of a perpetual agricultural easement on Lot 1, as the note says, 29 acres plus. Lot 2 would be excluded because it's already built with barns and
Right.
impervious surface and septic, and therefore is ineligible for an easement with the ASEP program. That's what I know. I believe the residence is on the opposite side of the road.
I thought there was a house there as well, but it says barn, but I could have sworn there was a small house there, but perhaps not. But in any event, that's what they're doing. They're carving that part out to probably comply with the land going forward, correct?
To be clear that Lot 2 will be unaffected by the perpetual easement. Lot 1 only will be affected.
Correct.
If that's what you meant, then I agree.
Correct.
Question: Is the frontage total 192 feet plus 52 feet? Is that what that is indicating?
Well, the lot 2,
On lot 2.
the total frontage on lot 2 is 245 feet. And
Okay, that makes sense.
And the combined total of lot 1 is like 355 on one side and 361 on the other. So there's
Okay, great.
plenty of frontage there.
Mhm.
Because the frontage in that area is 175 and lot 2 is 245.
Again, I think this one is pretty straightforward. I have no questions.
Yeah, just a point of clarification. Lot number 1, or lot number 2, I'm sorry, is, or even lot number 1 is a non-conforming lot because it doesn't comply with the new lot 2. Lot number 1 doesn't comply with the zoning regulations because of front yard setbacks, but it's existing non-conforming lot. But the proposed lot number 2 complies with the side yard setback, so it is not more non-conforming. So therefore, from my understanding, it is still a legal lot to be formed with a Form A format.
Yeah, and it's got the 60,000 square feet too, so.
Right, and it complies with the side yard setbacks, even though the front yard setback is not conforming, but is an existing non-conforming use. So it should be, it, in my opinion, is in compliance with the zoning regulations before me.
Thank you thank you for clarifying that, Mark. If there aren't any other questions, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we move to approve the Form A for the Hamel project at I believe it's 125 Cold Spring Road, as submitted.
It's 150, no, 156 Glendale.
156 Glendale, I stand corrected.
I would second the motion to endorse this approval not required plan as mentioned on Glendale Road.
Any other further discussion? Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Mark,
Aye.
Stephen,
Abstain.
Dan,
Aye.
myself, aye. So it's 301. All right, that's it on A&Rs. Next on the agenda, since our last formal meeting, as we had a cancellation in between, 3 building permits have come in, and they were all under the 40,000 square foot stormwater threshold. One of them was from Tyler Boyle, and the address is 16 Gun Road Extension. Another one was for Igor Savalunov for 8 Quigley Road, which was a subdivision that we had approved years ago. And then the last one was for Tom Backus at 31 White Loaf Road. And that was on an A&R that we approved a couple of months ago or a month ago up on White Loaf. So 3 building permits.
Question on that last one. On the meeting notice is something about a withdrawn solar application for White Loaf Road.
Yeah,
Is
that's
that the
not,
one
no, that's,
no, that's not the one you're talking about.
no, that's
Oh.
not, that's for a solar. These are building permits.
'Cause I see the Boyle and the Z1 and then the C Hopkins on Lead Mine. So I'm just trying to correlate which one is the third one.
Yeah, those aren't building permits,
Oh.
Dan. That's a different agenda item.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
So I'm looking for approval that I signed off on these under the stormwater for 3 building permits. Do I have a motion?
All right. I guess I'll make a motion that we approve the 3 building permits that were just listed.
Motion has been made. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion made and second. Any other further discussion?
Yeah. I think that
Go ahead.
I think that what we're doing is ratifying the chair's action already taken.
Correct.
That was not the form of the motion.
Yeah, it wasn't exactly clear what we're doing there. So thank you.
We are ratifying the chair's sign off on some number of building permits, an action which he has already taken based on his analysis that they don't meet the threshold for the stormwater bylaw.
Thank you for making it clear.
Chair? Am I correct, Mr. Chair?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And this authority was granted to the chair, whoever the chair may be, several years ago. So we would not hang up building permits in the course of the weeks that we might meet and sometimes have canceled meetings or only one meeting in the summer. So to keep the process moving, and that was granted me to
And that's
ratify.
documented in the policies.
It's documented in the minutes of the meeting that it took place years ago. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, just to be clear, what in fact we're doing, it's
Good.
backing up the action you've taken.
I think I had made this clear quite a while ago too, when you were brought on board, and Dan, that was a policy, that procedure that was taken by the board years ago.
I've seen you follow this pattern before. Yes.
So, do we have now that we have a motion to ratify my decision to approve building permits that was made by Dan and seconded by Mark, do I have a vote to go forward with that? All in favor? Mark,
Aye.
Dan,
I
Stephen,
I will abstain.
and myself, I'll vote yes, so 301. Thank you. Next on the agenda, Dan, that you were confused with, I received an application that was filed with the clerk for a residential solar application for Constance Hopkins at 48 Lead Mine Road. So that is in the works. I am scheduling that hearing for July 17th, and the legal notices will be posted and the abutter notifications will go out. But that's just to give you an idea that that is on the horizon for July 17th. It is a special permit. We'll need 4 people. If you're not available, please let me know.
I'll be around.
I should be here.
And the next one, Dan, was a if you'll recall, the last time we met physically, was there a very incomplete solar application for White Loaf Road?
Yep.
And that was submitted by Sunrun Installations for a Denise Harriman 97 Strong. It was Strong Road, actually, I guess. And as you recall, that they wanted to put the solar field on an abutting lot that she owned. So they asked it for a continuance, and then our meeting was canceled, but they then, I heard from them and they withdrew it. And they're going back to the drawing board. So that is off the table right now. Next on the agenda, I have 2 warrants. Richard Harris submitted his service bill from April to June, a quarterly bill. It was $649.29. A portion of that which will be paid out of ARPA funds, and the balance out of our revolving fund. So I need a motion to approve Richard's services for the amount of $649.29.
Motion to approve Richard Harris's services for the amount stated.
Second.
Motion was made by Dan. Second. Who had the second?
You make it up.
Was it Stephen or Mark?
Stephen.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Mark,
Aye.
Dan,
I
Stephen,
Aye.
myself, I, 4-0 approved. And then finally, a warrant for, submitted by myself for $68 for stamps for postage going forward. Hopefully that'll last me the next 6 months. So $68 for Paul Demon. Do I have a motion?
make a motion to approve the warrant for the stamps for the amount that was stated.
Do I have a second?
I will second that.
Motion made and second. All in favor? Mark,
Aye.
Dan,
I
Stephen,
Aye.
myself. All right. Let's see. We have reports of committees. Anything happening on any of the various committees you may sit on that you'd like to share?
I think we may know that Housing Authority is looking to have a meeting with us to look at the 40R districting. So probably want to schedule that sometime over the next couple of months.
Sooner if possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, there seem to be some scheduling problems here with Richard and various other parties. So I'll get together with Sierra and see if I can set something up and coordinate it with Richard as well. Anything else? Public safety or?
Yeah. Everyone knows by now, I don't know, it passed the ballot by 60% in favor.
Yes.
There was about a 25% turnout of registered voters, which for a single question ballot off cycle impressed me favorably. I'm still distressed with the state of our democracy, but a lot of people came out and expressed themselves, and we still have some education and engagement to do, because there's a significant portion of the town that's a little negative about spending money. And so I think we need to engage them and help create the value that they expect. So, Mark, thank you for your leadership on the Public Safety Committee. And
You're welcome. Thank you.
Your expertise helps in these situations a lot.
Yeah, another meeting tomorrow night. Hopefully we'll proceed.
Well, you might have a visitor. Watch out.
Do you have anything else to add to that, Mark?
No, we're just excited about the next phase, which I think is going to be, as Stephen said, it's a lot of education outreach that we have to work on.
Mm-hmm.
Might even call it planning.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Okay, very good. Other business we want to address, Stephen?
Yes, but looking at the plan of the land, I just want to mention that the sewer feasibility study was approved for funding, and now that the vote's gone through, I'm sure that work will kick into gear with Ty and Boland. Yeah, on other business, Mr. Chair, do you have the ability to share your screen again? And if so, could you pull up Town of Southampton Planning Board page?
I don't know if I have the ability to do that, to be honest with you.
We showed those plans pretty skillfully.
Yeah, but now I've got to find where the Town of Southampton website is.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know how to do that.
Let me go there. Town of Southampton Government Planning Board. And on this webpage, which is our public face, there are half a dozen or more bullet items under contact/meetings. Planning board is elected, voluntary town board. We have no office hours. Please inquire at the building department, zoning officer, for further information regarding your project or development. Public meetings are every first and third Wednesdays at 7 p.m. July and August, the third Wednesday. Please make your inquiries to our email or call. And finally, agenda items and applications filed with the town clerk must be submitted Wednesdays prior to the meeting by 4 p.m. Additionally, electronic files are to be submitted to the board email. I'd just like to call our collective attention to what we promised, and I know that the chair has an unusually heavy load, especially with a building commissioner who's not everything to all people. But if we follow this procedure, it would be straightforward for you to forward on all the electronically provided supporting documents so that we could be informed participants in the meeting.
Now, you're referring to the Form A, I'm assuming that you didn't receive for the two A&Rs.
I rather am pulling back to look at how we operate generally. And I think that we ought to keep our own rules. So I'd like to be current on what our rules are. And looking across planning boards in many different towns, there is a general consensus that boards ought to adopt procedures that would further detail this sort of thing. And I believe we did something about public participation, but that should be a paragraph within, and it should be more explicit and in writing rather than just on a web page that the materials are to be provided electronically by 4 p.m. on Wednesday. Otherwise, they've missed the deadline for that meeting. I am an elected official, and I will not participate without the proper information. And
now,
we've got
let me ask
published rules.
The published rules say they submit it electronically. Unless this board wants to initiate this right now, going forward, I don't have a problem with it, but I have not had a problem in the past when I've sent plans ahead of time. Maybe it was not the full A&R application, because the A&R application states the name and address of the applicant and the engineer. And on the second page, they check off the box that said it's not a subdivision and it meets the frontage requirement for that district. Now, I can submit all that, but the plan is what we actually view, and that's what we actually act on. So if this board would like me to send every piece of information that I have ahead of time, rather than in a meeting, which most of the time in a meeting I would give you a packet that had this information, but in the past I never had to provide it before. It was always provided at the meeting. And I'm assuming maybe because that's something that's provided to you by the select board from the town administrator's office, and you're used to that on that board.
Well, I would rather say that it is common among boards. It is a common expectation. If this board is an exception, even to its own published rules, I strongly suggest that we get back with the program.
I don't see where the published rules state that I should provide the agenda in ahead of time for you, or the specific items. You didn't read that from that page, Steve. But I will ask the other members here. Mark, would you prefer, and Dan, chime in on this? Would you prefer me to provide every piece of material that we are going to deal with the night of a meeting ahead of time?
I guess what's the burden to do that? Is it a big ask, or is it easy? If
it's a big ask if the chair is only getting paper late. It's a small ask if he's getting electronic files from the applicant.
Sometimes I do, and sometimes I don't.
Then they get postponed. I'm sorry. I'll let others speak.
But I'll be happy to, if that's what this board requires from going forward, because it hasn't been a practice in the past, and with no complaints in the past. But if that is something you want to initiate going forward, then I will do so at my my pay rate. So,
is there anything, Mr. Chair? Is there anything that could mitigate that burden and facilitate this easy exchange of information?
No, not unless they hire someone staff to assist this department, which is not in the offing right now. So, okay, do you want to make a motion on that, Stephen?
I move that henceforth the planning board follow all of its previously published procedures, including that electronic submissions are received by Wednesday prior to the scheduled meeting at 4 p.m. Otherwise, they will be deemed not timely and postponed to a later meeting. That's the motion.
But I thought your motion was to provide the members with the material.
But that is a terrible, terrible burden on you, Paul, if you don't enforce the first rule.
I haven't had any trouble with receiving things. Very, very few times has someone come late to the party with something after a Thursday. I post the agendas on Thursday going. In fact, I have until Monday, 48 hours before the meeting, to post something if it comes in late.
It's the difference between the legal requirements of public meeting notice and informed participation by people who, like you, are volunteering their time and service for the betterment of the town.
I also have an empathy for those people that is time is money, and sometimes they need these things done in a timely fashion. And when we meet every couple of weeks, I kind of think of them more than the splitting hairs with the red tape.
Splitting hairs if you follow established and published policy. And then you won't get pushed to make it an hour later, an hour and a day later. And well, maybe I'll just bring all that shit to the meeting.
I'll tell you what, we'll do this, and I'll continue to monitor it, and I'll provide you with the information. And upcoming before we adjourn, because we hadn't met previous to this, we have the election of officers, and if you want to change the roles of those involved, then that's going to be the opportunity for those of you to do that very shortly coming up. And I want to have this motion, repeat it, and get an approval on it.
I move that the planning board follow its existing policy and procedure, especially as published on the website, ensuring that applicants provide material electronically to the chair by 4 p.m. Wednesday, the week prior to the meeting.
May I comment on that before this seconded, or is it appropriate time for comments?
No, after we to do the motion and second, we'll have some more discussion.
Okay.
Who's got a second on that, Dan? Yes, no, Mark?
Second gets us to discussion. It doesn't decide the matter.
Okay, second.
Okay, go ahead. Motion's made and seconded. Any other further discussion, Mark?
Yes, going back to Steve's comment regarding what's published on the website, it specifically states that the agenda item applications filed with the town clerk must be submitted by Wednesdays prior to the 4 p.m. It doesn't state that all this information has to be submitted to the board prior to 4 p.m. on the date prior to the hearing.
No, I would suggest that that means the chair as well, because the balance of that sentence goes on to address submission of electronic documents to chair, planning board, blah, blah, blah.
Right. It does specifically say additional electronic files are to be submitted to the board email. That is correct. It doesn't specifically state that. I mean, I've worked in other towns where we've had to submit, 7 or 8 paper copies to the town clerk to be submitted to the board and also to other board members. But ultimately the planning board wanted to have electronic copies as well to have them distributed. And I don't read this as stating that the electronic files are to be submitted prior to 4 p.m. prior to the hearing. The boards, other towns on the board required them to, so they primarily for either distribution or for modifications or for viewing.
Well, sometimes what happens, if I might interject, that they'll go in with the plans in the A&R, which will be stamped by the clerk, and then that's put in my mailbox. And this is after the fact when they have mailed or emailed me the notice for the agenda with a plan. And sometimes I will get the A&R that they scan electronically, but not all the time. But it is filed with the clerk. It's filed in for a timely fashion, but not all the time do I get it electronically.
So, okay.
But
I see a tale of another issue. But let's on this. I understand that reasonable people can read it different ways. Where this is going is I see other towns feeling the benefit of adopting procedures. They're 5 to 50 pages long. Believe me, they're all sorts. But it summarizes very clearly how we do our business. And it should take an awful lot of the pressure off of the chair, whomever that is, because you can refer to the standard practice. We don't have to make a first-rate exception, a second-rate exception, or a third-rate exception, depending on who's coming before us. We need to have a uniform, consistent public process that is responsive to the public, absolutely. After all, the date on the Form A stamped by the town clerk is a critical date, and that information has never been shared. Okay, that starts a 21-day clock for constructive approval. So there is a state requirement that we do our job in a timely manner. I am all for that. And I think it will be facilitated, not impeded, by ensuring adherence to electronic submission on that time frame. So then what we need to do is agree that that's a good thing that supports our chair and supports the board, so the chair can turn that around as appropriate in supporting the agenda items. Things that are late and deferred could be on a errata list at the end of, this should be easy for you, Paul, but if it comes down to one-off exceptions, it's going to be torture. wrong with
You have to remember, I'm not the one that complained about it, and I hadn't complained about it until you brought it up. I haven't had an issue with it.
I would characterize your response to me as a complaint.
A what?
A complaint. A rather pissy one.
Well, I don't have a secretary. I do the best I can, but I have not had any complaints in the several years that I've been chairing this, Stephen. You're the first one that has brought up how the procedure
So be it.
might not be followed.
And so be it. What is fundamentally wrong with the procedure, refined, but largely reflecting what we already published on the website?
You're splitting hairs.
How would that be worse?
You're splitting hairs, Steve. You're trying to make a mountain out of a molehill.
No. Don't characterize it. Tell me what the problem. Tell me what the problem is. We should just waive off
the problem is maybe I
ANRs.
should resign or not be nominated for chair going forward, so we can get somebody that'll straighten this position out.
Well, if you disagree with the established guidelines,
I don't disagree with it. I haven't had a problem with it. And I haven't had any members prior to your appointment or election complain about it, to be quite frank.
It is common practice to provide board members in any sort of an enterprise with advanced background on decisions that are to be voted. That, in business, in nonprofits, in government, that's just the norm.
That's different from your motion. Can we move the motion and go forward, and then you can make a motion that you want the board to receive all documentation for the upcoming meeting electronically prior to?
No, I still want it to go through the chair. That deadline is for submission to the town clerk and electronically to the planning board. That's the motion.
This easily be solved by just having that email address forwarded to all members of the board. Then you would get the electronic copy, and it's not extra work.
Well,
if
no, I don't have a problem with that, Dan. I don't have a problem with it.
Okay, great.
I'm trying to think of
that's
easy.
The easiest way.
The motion has been made by Stephen and seconded by Dan. Do we have any further discussion? All in favor? Mark?
Aye.
Mark? Dan?
No.
Mark? No? Yes?
No.
I'm going to abstain. Stephen?
Yes.
We have 1, 2, and 1 abstention. But regardless, I will do my best to send every piece of material necessary, provided I have to do this for the next meeting if the election doesn't come out that way. So that being said, we have to get on with the election of officers and the committees for the fiscal year coming up, 24-25, which I guess is actually 25. So at this time, I'm going to ask for nominations for chair.
I'd like to nominate Paul Damon as chair. Planning board.
Anyone else?
I'd like to nominate Mark Darnold for chair.
Okay. Anyone else? We have to have a vote. All in favor of Mark?
Aye. Stephen?
Stephen, yes. Mark? Dan?
No. So vote for Paul.
Mark?
Vote for Paul.
And I won't vote. Looks like I have chair again.
Any word from Mr. Forgal?
Let us know how we can support you, Paul. That's what we're trying to do. As painful as it is, I'm trying to support you.
It's not painful. That's too strong. Vice Chair, Paul Fergal has been Vice Chair. He's the most senior member after myself, but I don't know if you would like to change that. But now is the time to do so for nominations.
Do you know if he would accept it if we nominated him? Have you had any chance to talk with him?
I'm sure he was. He's done it for 2 terms. He doesn't get to chair that often, but it's up to you folks. If you want to nominate someone else for vice chair.
I'd like to make the motion to nominate Paul Fergal for vice chair of the planning board.
I will second that motion.
Any other nominations for vice chair?
Stephen would like to nominate Mark Darnell for vice chair of the planning board for 24-25. Sorry, Mark. We need you.
I'm already on 3 boards.
You can decline, but you will be sad.
Okay, so we'll have a vote for Paul Fergal. Anyone want to vote for Paul Fergal? I'll vote for Paul.
I'm sorry. I wasn't sure if Mark, did you accept the nomination?
No.
You did not. Okay.
Decline?
All right, then I'll vote for Paul.
I vote for Paul.
Stephen?
Yay.
Appreciate it, Stephen.
Okay, vice chair. Then our recording secretary and Dan, I'm assuming you wanted to.
I'm awful at it. I'm still delinquent on a couple things. So I do not want to be renominated for that position, please.
Anyone would like to nominate themselves for taking the minutes?
I'm afraid I would be much worse.
I've also done that in the past too, so I've worn 2 hats, which, if need be, that's the way it has to be. So, anyone interested for secretary?
I'd like to nominate Paul Damon as secretary.
Anyone else want to be nominated? The only nominee. Do I win by default, or do I have to vote on it?
Yes, we all approve.
I think you got it, man.
Yeah.
On a case-by-case basis, I would do a one-off, okay? But really, it gets dangerous.
Now I've got to do, let's see here. PVPC is myself currently. Stephen, no, you're not PVPC.
Well, I thought I was. And perhaps that comes from the select board. I am confused about where I'm serving from.
I think maybe you are a select board. I think I am right now.
That may be that I'm the backup, and PVPC has welcomed me to the meetings, and I know they check membership because they vote, and there's an example. They send out copious amounts of material well before the meeting, so we can follow their lead. So I actually have attended meetings, and the budget was not that exciting, but it was informative, and I'm happy to do that. It would be better to do it properly than freelance. So if I'm your alternate and you're good with that, I'll take that off your plate.
So you want to be the alternate?
I'll be the lead. PVPC. I'll be the lead if you're good with that.
Second.
Yep. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Open space, is that you, Stephen, or? No, that's me. I'm sorry.
No, it's either I'm at large or I'm select board, and
No, you're
I
select
think it
board.
changed.
No.
Yeah,
It's me. I'm open space right now.
I think that's right.
Who is on the community preservation?
That's me.
Mark?
Yes.
Excellent.
All in favor? Aye.
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 And is there one more? No, PVPC open space. I guess that was the only one. Those three committees, I think.
Okay.
Other than that, I don't have any other agenda items. If somebody else wants to, anything else before we adjourn?
I'll make a motion that we adjourn this meeting.
Second.
Motion made and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.